I could say almost weekly, I get a few thoughtful questions about various aspects of our TNT strength and conditioning model. And recently, I've had some questions about reps and reserve specifically.
We are about to launch.
What's up, everybody? Truth, not trends. My name is Liam TAKU Bauer, and I have been a strength coach for 37 years and counting. This is the Truth, Not Trends podcast, where we help you maximize your strength as safely and efficiently as possible. Today is episode 194, and it is a solo round. I'm going to be talking about some questions that I get here at the gym all the time. And today we're going to talk about reps in reserve. You might have heard this term. It floats around a lot in the popular culture out there in strength training land. RIR, or reps in reserve. What is it? What do we think about it? So I could say almost weekly, I get a few thoughtful questions about various aspects of our TNT strength and conditioning model. And recently, I've had some questions about reps in reserve specifically and the RIR model and how it compares to our approach here at TNT Strength. So the RIR model, or reps in reserve, is where you intentionally stop a set with a certain number of reps in the tank. And it could be useful for estimating effort, managing fatigue, particularly if you're someone who likes to train in a higher volume or more, possibly sports-specific training programs. However, in our experience and the experience of many experts in the high-intensity training or HIT world, reps in reserve fall short when the goal is to stimulate maximum strength and muscle gains efficiently and safely. And here's why we prefer training to positive muscular failure. Number one is objective intensity. RIR relies on a subjective guesswork. It assumes you can accurately predict how many more reps you could do before failing. But research shows most people underestimate this. And actually, anecdotally, I see this all the time, that even experienced lifters are very poor judges of proximity to failure. So they're not really good at estimating how many they have left when they're being coached really effectively. So what happens is when you're training to true muscular failure, it removes that guesswork. When your muscles can no longer complete another rep in good form, that is an objective, measurable point of maximum effort. Okay, point number two, optimal stimulus and minimal volume. At TNT Strength, our goal is to get the most out of the least, stimulating your muscles enough to trigger adaptation without wasting time or increasing injury risk. Okay, reaching positive muscular failure ensures you fully recruited and fatigued the targeted fibers, but stopping short, as in the reps in reserve model, risks leaving some of that stimulus on the table. Okay, again, this comes up. You'd think with beginner gains, the classic thing is anything works, which is really true because it's a novel stimulus. But maybe counterintuitively, I find that the more experienced you are, the less effective reps in reserve might be. And this is borne out by a lot of the research. There is research out there comparing and contrasting training to failure and reps in reserve. And what most of it shows is there's similar results, but from what I've been reading, it sort of tips a little in favor of training to failure when you're a more experienced lifter. So number three, a point that we like to think about is obviously safety and supervision. We used what we call a controlled tempo. Okay, we understand the concern that some people have about training to failure. Okay, that's why we use controlled tempos, excellent form, and very close supervision. When done properly, training to failure is not only effective, it's safe, and especially with a lower volume, high intensity setting, which is what we're promoting here at Truth, Not Trends, TNT Strength. Okay, number four is consistency and progress tracking. Training to failure also makes it easier to measure your true progress. You know exactly where your limit was last time, and you can clearly track improvements in strength or endurance. Reps in reserve being subjective introduces variability that can cloud sort of real progress, in my opinion. So at the end of the day, our mission at TNT Strength is to help you achieve maximum results in a minimum time with the lowest possible risk. And that's why we stand by training to positive failure as the most efficient and effective approach for long-term strength and health. Okay, so keep that in mind. And now moving on to another question that comes up quite a bit, and that is, safety. So we have a broad array of participants here at Truth Not Trends TNT Strength headquarters. We have people teenagers, high school athletes, all the way up to people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s working with us every week. And most of our clients are probably 50 plus. And for many, right, safety is a concern. So when people think about injury risk during strength training, they often imagine something going wrong during that very last rep of a hard set. That's when you're exhausted, your muscles are screaming with effort, the weight feels impossible. It seems like the danger would be the highest right there, right? Okay, but we feel that this is incorrect. In high intensity strength training done the TNT Strength way, the last rep is actually the safest and the first rep is actually the most dangerous. And I'm going to explain why. The first rep we kind of think of as the danger zone. At the start of any exercise, you're very fresh and you're ready to go. But under the hood, your muscles, connective tissues, nervous system, they're just ramping up. And here's why that first rep poses the most potential risk. There's lower neuromuscular activation. Your nervous system hasn't fully warmed up yet. Not all motor units are engaged. Your tissues could be a little colder, a little stiffer. Ligaments and tendons, muscles aren't as elastic as they could be, ready for full force contractions. Higher force potential. Earlier reps are done when you're strongest, meaning you could accidentally move too fast or with too much force. Okay, and this is common, right? We see people getting ready to lift. Let's say they're going to do a chest press and they just punch that first rep out as hard and fast as they possibly can. This is literally the most dangerous thing you can do. The other thing is not controlling the turnarounds of those reps. All right. You also want to make sure your posture and alignment is good. These are all things that our coaches are helping people lock into, right? Getting into the groove and the form and so forth. So we're here making sure all these things happen. You can think of each rep of a set of, a normal set. Let's just say you're going to get somewhere between 8 to 15 reps. Each set is sort of moving you towards the ultimate goal, which is reaching that point of failure, which is where the real magic happens. The real stimulus is in those last momentarily impossible efforts that you put forth. Okay, at TNT, we coach our clients to ease into that first rep with real awareness and control, especially on any lift, really. Compound lifts, it doesn't matter. We want to really ease into it. Okay, the last rep achieves safety through fatigue. And this seems counterintuitive, but let's talk about it. The final rep, the one where your muscles just barely finishes the movement or maybe doesn't finish at all. Okay, that's the one that most people fear. But in our framework, this rep is performed slowly, consciously, and with full body awareness. And here's why it's actually your safest. Maximum motor unit recruitment is happening at this point of momentary muscular failure, right? This is Henneman's size principle at work. We're recruiting the fibers sequentially. And when we've reached that point where we can no longer move that weight at all, we have brought in all the fibers that we have available at that moment. Okay, so we get the maximum motor recruitment efficiently by that point. We got lower force output. Due to fatigue, your body physically can't move as explosively or maybe explosively at all, which means less potential joint stress. Your form is dialed in. You've been reinforcing that movement pattern under control for the reps building up to that moment of fatigue, all right? You're totally focused, you're engaged, you're mentally and physically, there's no distractions. You're putting all your attention right there. And obviously the coach is there making sure that's happening. The last rep is where the magic happens, the deep stimulus that drives adaptation in the safest possible context. Okay, mindset also matters. Obviously, the high intensity strength approach is all about intentional effort and controlled execution. That's why we train to momentary muscular failure, not to break you down, but to stimulate the body as safely and efficiently as possible. When you understand that, fatigue can actually protect you by reducing speed, force, and reckless movement. You realize that training smart equals training as hard as you can. Okay, so first rep versus last rep. All right, in the first rep, your neuromuscular engagement is low, your tissue readiness is moderate to low, your force output is potentially high, and the risk level is higher. In those mid reps, all right, the engagement is increasing, your tissue readiness is improving, the force output is actually dropping, and the risk level is dropping as well. When those last reps, when you're working literally as hard as you can, you have maximum neuromuscular engagement, the tissues are fully ready, you're as warm as you're going to get, the force output is actually lower at this point, and the risk becomes lower. So if you want to take just one thing away from this, don't fear the last rep, respect the first rep, all right? So that's what we want to talk about. It's short and sweet today, episode 194, just answering some questions, solo round, right here at TNT Strength. Boom, baby! Thank you for listening to this episode of the Truth Not Trends podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us, whatever platform you are on. And also always share these podcasts with a friend. If you want to find out about TNT Strength and training with us live in the studio in Oakland, California, visit our website at www.tntstrength.com. You can also call us right here in the studio, 510-768-5421. If there's a guest you'd love for me to talk to or a topic you want me to dig into, shoot me an email at taku@tntstrength.com. That's TAKU @tntstrength.com. And whatever you do, get rid of that stupid blue bow suit. Don't fear the last rep. Respect the first rep.
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com.
But let's talk about it.